Hey everyone, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so welcome to Q&A in the car. And so here's the deal. I'm just going to sit here, and if you have any questions, then you can ask them. Comment, ask a question. If you do not have any questions, then I'll just talk for a while, because it's Monday. This is my day off, and I am a little bored. But no, in all seriousness, I'd like to start doing a session like this on Mondays called Q&A in the car. And so feel free to submit your questions even during the week on the page, and then I'll try to address some of those the next week. So it can be serious, it can be about music philosophy, piano, hymns, church stuff, or it can be just totally off the wall stuff. I can talk about just about anything, and my opinion, I have found, is usually right. So I'm happy to discuss anything like that with you all. So let's go ahead and get started. It's kind of a weird time to be doing a video, so I'll have to work a little bit with the timing. So right now, while it's just me, I'll go ahead and get started by talking about, let's see, let's talk about fast food a little bit. I mentioned this not long ago, but my favorite fast food restaurant for the longest time was Taco Bell, and I'm a Mexican fast food guy. That's just kind of what I do. So recently I tried Taco Bueno, which is a chain that's here. I don't think it's nationwide. I know they're here in Oklahoma, maybe in Texas or something. I'm not sure how far that chain goes. Anyway, I just have to say that this was a life-altering moment for me. Taco Bueno is better than Taco Bell, and this is coming from somebody that I literally never thought that I would find anywhere better than Taco Bell to eat. Like, if I had a choice between anything and Taco Bell, I would choose Taco Bell every time. I don't like, honestly, if like the richest person in the world invited me to their house and was going to offer like a 5-course meal, and the other choice was Taco Bell, I would pick Taco Bell every time. But then I found out that Taco Bueno is better. So they have Taco Bueno, they have this thing called the Muchacho, which is basically like a chalupa, except 100 times better, basically. And it has beans in it. That's it. That's the thing. Like, I don't think the chalupas have beans in them. It's just that meat stuff that they do at Taco Bell, and then all the trimmings and stuff. Taco Bueno has beans in their Muchacho, which makes it awesome. Their tacos are better. The price is pretty much the same. So I'm just sitting there thinking, where has this been my entire life? When I was devouring bean burritos by the thousands. And yes, I mean thousands. It was still, I was a Taco Bell fan for everything. And then now I found Taco Bueno, and so this changed my life. Yes, Rebecca, even if it was bacon. So I know I ate a lot of bacon, so I did eat a lot of bacon in college. That's true. Like, all of my salads, to me, bacon is the base of every salad. So if you're going to have a salad, whether or not you have lettuce on it or anything else, you at least need to have bacon on it. If you have a plate of bacon, you have a salad. Anything else beyond that is just adding to your salad. So it's not really that you're taking lettuce and putting bacon on top of it. It's more that you're taking bacon and putting lettuce underneath it. So I do like bacon, mostly on my salad, but I will still take Taco Bell over that. So anyway, that's my icebreaker, I guess, to get us started. So Hello, good to see all of you that have tuned in. So welcome to the Q&A. If you have a question that you want to ask, it can be music related, it can be church related stuff. Love talking about that. But then, as you just noticed, if you've been watching, I also enjoy talking about things that have nothing to do with that also. So some Q&A in the car. Kate Martin asks, how do you come up with song ideas? This is a great question. As far as like for some of the songs that I've written, probably the most recent ones that I've written have been written from like theme ideas for the church or for the school, the college that I work at. So I already kind of have an idea of a theme that I want to base it off of, and then I use that as kind of the central idea of the song, and I find different verses or whatever that relate to that topic. I get the idea in my head, the main idea that I want to get across, and then I find different verses from that. So those have been some of the more recent ones, but there's been other things too, like if it's not that, usually then the way that I'll come up with song ideas is honestly like during a message or something when the pastor's preaching, and I come across something, either something that he says, a point that he tries to get across or something, and I usually will just kind of get the hook, I think is a term that most people would use, in my head, as far as like, this is what I want to, that's a cool idea, kind of a play on words maybe sometimes. I'll get kind of that basic line that's going to be in the chorus, I'll get that in my head, and a lot of times the melody will come with that, and so that gives me a starting point. And then from there, I kind of expand upon that. So there's a whole lot that goes into songwriting, and I don't know that I'm an expert at explaining it all, but if you're asking how I come up with ideas, those are probably the biggest two. Either I already kind of have a theme that I know I need to work off of, or I'll hear somebody say something, a speaker or a preacher in a service or something, and I'll build the idea off of that. I have a couple I haven't actually released. I was just thinking of this the other day that I need to actually put music out for that are actually scripture songs that are just Bible verses or Bible passages that I've put to music. And I also have others that are actually hymns that are already written that I've just written different tunes to. So there's kind of a variety, but those would be the main two. Themes that I already have, or hearing something during a church service. So hopefully that helps. Daniel is asking, hello Daniel, from your perspective, what is the number one thing you would want? From my perspective as a church pianist, what is the number one thing I would want the song leader to be good at? So you're asking about, he mentions a couple things, singing, timing, enthusiasm. So that's kind of a broad spectrum. For me as a church pianist, I think you kind of hit on it there with enthusiasm. I don't know if that's the best word for it, but I want a song leader who is, here's what I would say. I want a song leader who is going to lead the song service. There are a lot of song leaders. I feel like in a lot of churches, what can happen sometimes is that the pianist kind of leads the song service. The song leader will get up and say, or get with the pianist before church and say, if I mess up, you just keep going. They're going to follow you instead of me. I'm not actually that good at this. I just kind of wave my hands and whatever. I feel like as a song leader, you should put more into it than that. And I know some people haven't had the training, so I understand that. My intention isn't to insult you. It's just a challenge. If you're a song leader that kind of has that approach that, I'm not really that good, I just do this because nobody else will do it, but the pianist, they're really the music person, so and I think maybe a lot of times it's just maybe an insecurity thing to where that the pianist knows music possibly better than you. I think that's the case, and not in a bad way, but just in a lot of churches, that the song leader, because they can afford to pay somebody or hire someone that's been trained, it's just someone that has a decent singing voice, but they haven't like studied music as much as a pianist has. And so maybe they feel a little intimidated. And so they just kind of let the pianist lead. I would just say to you, like, you're the song leader. You're the one that should be leading. And if you feel intimidated by that, if you feel like, man, I don't know enough, I would just encourage you, there's lots of ways, and especially now that you can study online, or maybe some local classes, or find some books about music, about song leading, music theory. There's all sorts of things that may seem intimidating to you, like just starting out, especially if you're a beginner. But I would just say, you be the best that you can be, and just embrace the role as a leader. And it doesn't mean you have to be domineering or a jerk about it, but like, the congregation should know who the leader is, and that it's you. And that's one thing I love about where I'm at Southwest Baptist Church. Like, we have 2 pianists and an organist, and occasionally the orchestra will join us on like choir things. So there's a lot going on musically, and you've got 2,000 plus people sometimes in attendance at the church. But everyone knows that Brother Aaron, our song leader, is the one that's leading the song service, and all eyes are on him. And he's comfortable with that role, and it's not that he's prideful or anything about it, but that's his role, and so he does his best to fulfill it. So I'd say as a pianist, that's what I want. I think, and maybe I'm unique. Maybe a lot of pianists like being the one that kind of keep things going. I don't know. I just know as a pianist that I feel like as a song leader, that's your job, is to be the leader. And I want to be able to look at you and follow you, because I feel like that's my responsibility, is actually to be able to follow you, not to lead the congregation. So hopefully that helps answer your question. If you're just joining us, this is Q&A in the car. Ask me anything. It can be music related. It can be serious. It can be not serious at all. But welcome, and feel free to share the video with friends that you think might be interested. Let's see. I've got, do you take inspiration? Kate asked again. Do you take inspiration from classical pieces? Not super often. Not super. So I would say no, I don't take inspiration from actual tunes and melodies from classical pieces. But that's not to say that classical hasn't helped me, because classical kind of helped. Studying classical music, really studying any kind of music. I guess I can't say any kind. But studying classical music, or even classic folk songs, whatever, any kind of music that has stood the test of time, studying that gives you a good foundation in theory, in how music works, in how composition works, how melodies and harmony and all those things work. So I'm not going to say that classical hasn't helped me at all. I just haven't specifically used classical melodies in any of my compositions that I'm aware of, unless I did it without realizing it. So no, not specifically, but still definitely study classical music. Let's see. Bernice has a question. Oh, it's her tutorial there's something about that name. I would love to actually do some more tutorials. I recently recorded one. I just haven't edited it and put it up yet. I think on Victory in Jesus. I want to do more hymn tutorials, and there's so many things that I want to do, and I just thought that I would have more time to do, and I really wish I did have more time. So the plan is for now to do the Q&A session every week, and then to do at least a live hymn playing session every week, and maybe I can just include a section on the live hymn playing, maybe at the beginning, or end, or somewhere in the middle, where I do a little bit of a hymn tutorial. I might do something like that, because I want to start doing more weekly content. I've kind of let the YouTube channel stagnate for a while. So yeah, you're not the only one, Bernice, actually, to ask about that. I've had a lot of people asking me about hymn tutorials on different songs that they've heard me play. And I want to be able to do that. I enjoy doing that kind of thing. Your request has been heard, and know that I am planning to do something about that, to do more hymn tutorials. So, all right. So again, live Q&A here, and thanks for watching. I'm going to keep on just rambling, I guess, about different things. But if you have a question, feel free to comment. I know this is a weird kind of day to do this, so I'm probably not going to catch a ton of people like I do at the end of the day with the hymn request videos, but this is when I have some time. So I might play around with the scheduling once I get into doing this every week. But if you have a question, feel free to comment. If not, I'll just kind of talk about whatever pops into my head. So, and then I'll post this video afterwards. If you do miss it, I'll post it on the channel afterwards, and I'll post it on YouTube as well. So, all right. So, talking about music-related stuff for a while. Let's talk about. Let's go back to fast food. Fast food is just something that I like to talk about because my wife tells me I'm very opinionated about fast food restaurants. So I would love to hear from you all what your favorite fast food chicken place is. I'm really opinionated about this. I think I mentioned this in my last Q&A video. Like, a lot of people like Raising Cane's. I don't, because I don't feel like it has any flavor at all. Because it doesn't. Basically, they don't put any flavoring or seasoning at all on their chicken. And so I know the big thing at Raising Cane's is the sauce. Like, everybody says the sauce is amazing, but here's the thing, it actually isn't. In my opinion, it's not amazing. I don't know, I don't like it. I see how some people could like it. So it has a distinctive enough taste that I feel like if you're somebody that likes it, you probably would love it. But I don't actually like it. To me, I feel like it's just ketchup with vinegar in it, with extra vinegar in it. But I don't know. My wife agrees with me, and that's all that really matters to me. So my favorite, I like Chick-fil-A because I just like their stand, obviously, on a lot of things. But I think their food is good. I think Chick-fil-A is overpriced, but I think that their service and their quality that you get there and the cleanliness and all of that is so much better than every other fast food restaurant that I don't mind them charging me more, because it's an experience more than anything. Like, it's not just the food at Chick-fil-A, it's the experience. And for that, I don't mind paying them more. But they're not even my favorite. Like, if you want to go based on food-wise, like taste in general, I haven't had a ton of chicken places, but I think my favorite food-wise, that's tough. I'm probably going to have to say Popeyes. I know that's going to, I'm going to get summarily flayed for that, but I know that was the big thing, right? Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes. I think Popeyes tastes better. I think Chick-fil-A has way, way, way better service. So, do with that what you will. That's my humble opinion. Okay, another question, Kate. Oh, from her brother, John. Do you find it easier to play by ear or from sheet music, which is more enjoyable to you? I probably find it easier to play by ear, and I feel like that's probably more enjoyable for me, just because it's, there's more room for the creative side, I guess, on that than there is when you're playing from sheet music. But I will caution with that, there's a lot of people that play by ear that are not comfortable playing with sheet music. And to be a well-rounded church pianist, you need to be able to do both. So there's a lot of people that learn how to play by ear, but not how to play by music, or they can play by music, but they're not very comfortable with it because most of the time they just play by ear, so they never work on playing with music. And that can be a problem, because then you're kind of stuck as a pianist. You have that creative ability, but then if somebody ever wants to sing and they do have music, then you're not able to do that. And I've known people like that, and I feel like that's a pretty common problem. I feel like it's kind of the exception rather than the rule if you can do both well. And I don't even play from sheet music as often as I should, and so I'm not great by sheet music, but I have taken lessons enough through high school, through college and everything, to where I was playing some fairly advanced sheet music. And I do it just enough to kind of keep myself fresh. I should do more, So I guess as far as for me personally, I enjoy playing by ear more. I would rather, but I can do both, and I think every church pianist should be very comfortable with both. Daniel asks how to get people to be more confident in the church and sing out. Again, a big question, because there are going to be a lot of reasons for why they might not. But if you're talking about from like a song leader's perspective, the biggest thing I really think for a song leader is going to be how prayerfully you approach your role. Like, as a song leader, you have to come into the service already having prepared and spent time with the Lord, and so that His Spirit can be flowing through you. And that's going to make you more passionate and more excited about the song service, I feel like, than if you try to just work something up on your own. So that would be obviously step number one. I mean, maybe that goes without saying, and I'm sure we're just assuming that. But step number one, obviously, is always going to be to pray and seek God's face before every service, really every day, and just for His help in His Spirit to flow through you, so that it would be Him up there singing and not you. And that obviously, if He's working through you, there's a much better chance of people. You want people singing for Him. You don't want them singing to make you happy as a song leader, I guess what I'm trying to say. And so that means they need to see Him coming through you and not just your energy or your personality as a song leader. Because there's a lot of different personalities as song leaders. There's a wide range of both experience and personality and technique when it comes to song leaders. But that doesn't matter as much as the fact of, are they being led by the Spirit, or are they just kind of doing their own thing and trying to find their own ways to get people to sing out? So that would be number one. Number two, again, I don't know if I'd say this is number two, but I collect my thoughts. Sorry. Sometimes it's a heart problem, and you as a song leader, like, you can only do so much about that. Here's what I would say. I would say that obviously if you're as a song leader, you need to be on board with your pastor. You need to have a close relationship with your pastor. You need to be meeting with him. And I would say too, if you feel like you're struggling to get people to sing, and you feel like it's a heart thing in the church, like maybe to talk to the pastor, but you should be meeting with the pastor anyway regularly, like maybe not every day, maybe not even every week, but you should already be spending significant time with your pastor so you know his heart about the song service and everything. And obviously I know his opinion is going to matter more than mine, but I appreciate you asking. And so I would say, like, some of that's going to be the pastor as he preaches, as the word of God gets into people's hearts during the sermon and all of that, and as people get right with God, as their heart gets right with God, then they're going to be able to come more from a place of joy and rejoicing and praise than if they're just coming with a heart that's hypocritical or not right with God. So you as a song leader, you play a part in that, but obviously there's more to it than that. The pastor's going to play a part in that, and the Spirit of God is going to be the number one, but then He's going to use you. He's going to use the pastor. He'll use any sort of different things. He can use their Bible reading time. So as a song leader, I would say, obviously spend time praying for God to help people to sing out, praying for the Spirit to work through you. And then if you want a practical tip, which maybe is what you wanted in the first place, I would say not to do too much. So here's what I see sometimes, and maybe where I've even been in the past sometimes, that a lot of song leaders, because the congregation isn't singing out, they will sing out louder and more because they feel like, maybe if I'm louder and more energetic, they will be. And that can kind of actually go both ways. Sometimes that might be the case, but sometimes a danger that you can fall into is actually if you start singing out and busting out into this like big loud solo up there when you're leading singing, everybody just kind of stops and watches you like it is a solo. So like song leaders, some of the great song leaders that I've seen actually will sometimes just back off for a phrase and not sing anything, or they'll kind of lean in at the beginning of a verse and get people started, and then they'll just kind of step away from the mic and just conduct for a while. Just kind of leave it on the congregation to do some singing. Or if they do sing, they might not even sing the melody note all the time. The song leader that I work with here, and I think the one even before him, from what I've heard, would sometimes sing like the tenor line or like a baritone line or something. He won't always sing the melody line. He won't always even be singing. Sometimes he'll just pause for a few words and just say, like, sing it out, and just kind of keep conducting and step away from the mic for a while. Or maybe just walk down in front of a section that's not singing very loud and just kind of conduct in front of them for a while. So don't feel like, I guess the thing is, don't feel like you have to pick up the slack, because if you do that, the people can easily get used to you picking up the slack and then just be like, oh, why do we have to sing? He's doing a great job up there. If that makes sense. So, spiritual answer, I don't want to act like it's spiritual versus non-spiritual, but I guess the number one answer, pray before every service and give it to the Lord and make sure you're right with God so that His Spirit can flow through you, and pray for God to get a hold of people's hearts, that their heart will be right and ready to sing. And then on the practical side, just make sure that you're not trying to step in and fill in the gap if you feel like they're not singing, put a little bit of pressure on them, I guess, by just sometimes having them do it. I mean, obviously get your pastor's heart on what he wants you to do, but just be aware that there is that trap that if you as a song leader feel like the people aren't singing out, sometimes you can fall into that trap of trying to do everything yourself, and then you can end up actually making a vicious cycle where things get worse, because then they just stop and watch you sing. So, don't know if that helps answer your question, but it's what I have for you. It's a great question, though. That's probably like the age-old question for song leaders is how you get people to sing out more. And I don't know that there's a quick fix for that, but it is. Those are some things that you can think about. If you're joining us now, it's a live Q&A session, Q&A in the car on Monday. I'm going to try to do this every Monday. If you can't stay for long, don't have time maybe to ask and see a whole answer to a question, I'm going to post this on the Facebook page. I'm going to post it on the YouTube channel. And then anytime during the week, feel free to message me or comment with other questions, and I'll try to include them in next week's Q&A in the car on Monday. So, let me see where we are. We've been doing this now for about half an hour or so, I think. So, 20 to 30 minutes. If y'all have any more questions, feel free to go ahead and comment. If not, then I can keep talking. So, let's see. What can I talk about? I can talk about, let me talk about my home state for a little bit. So, I am from the great state of Ohio, and some people may or may not know that about me. I live in Oklahoma now, but I am originally from Ohio. That was where I was born, where I grew up, where I lived almost all my life. And so I'm in Oklahoma now, and there are some similarities, but I feel like for the most part, there maybe could not be two more different states than Ohio and Oklahoma. Because it's not like they're not even, sorry about that. I'm fiddling around with things and I'm pressing buttons and it's making noises. So sorry about that. That was my wife's phone. Okay. So anyway, Ohio and Oklahoma are two very different states. And where I'm from in Ohio, it's very like small town. So like the town that I grew up in was 350 people. That was it. We had one traffic light, one bank, one gas station. And literally there was these two older guys that would come and they would sit on the bench in front of the gas station at this traffic light and just talk. Like it was literally something you'd picture from the Andy Griffith Show, Andy and Floyd sitting outside of the barbershop, just chatting away. It was like that. Just these guys sitting out in front of the gas station, in front of the filling station, if you want to call it that, watching the traffic light and just talking. But it was really pretty, right on a lake, and trees and hills and all that stuff. Like, there's no hills in Oklahoma. I guess there are some hills, but not a whole lot. And not a whole lot of trees where I'm at because I'm in the city. So doesn't get quite as cold here as it does in Ohio. Don't get as much snow. People generally don't move as fast down here as they do up north. Like, that can be driving, or it could just be anything, like working or whatever. People just don't move as fast here in the south as they do up north. So that's something that kind of takes a little getting used to, just adjusting to the southern lifestyle. So I guess when I say that two states couldn't be more different, it's not that they're like exact opposites. It's just that they have like nothing to do with each other. So like like the Ohio-Texas thing, I know there's a rivalry there, and like Ohio and Michigan, that's the big rivalry up there. So it's not like they're rivals that are like actively against each other. It's just that they literally have nothing whatsoever to do with each other. And I feel like you could find more in common with like Oklahoma and Arkansas or Kansas, or even in some ways like Florida or some other states, North Carolina, than you could with Ohio. I don't know. They're just two very different states. So anyway, I can talk more about that at a later time, but it's cool. All right. How was my Thanksgiving? That's a great thing to talk about, right? We just had Thanksgiving. Let's talk about that for a while. We had a great Thanksgiving. It was actually the smallest Thanksgiving dinner that my wife and I have ever been to. She came from a big family. I came from a not very big family, like immediate family. It was just me and my brother and sister, mom and dad. But we had a lot of extended family, and we would always get with them every Thanksgiving. So this year, we were just here. We stayed in Oklahoma. So it was me, my wife, and the boys. And we had one of the students from the Bible college where I teach come over. We thought we were going to have more. I invited a bunch, but they all already had somewhere to go. Or they didn't want to come to my house. One of the two. But we had one over. It was actually really cool. So really quiet, really chill. It was the most relaxed and the most, like I said, the smallest Thanksgiving that we've ever had. But it was actually nice. Just didn't really have to do a whole lot or anything. I mean, my wife had to do a lot. I didn't. I peeled potatoes and peeled apples. That was it. But as far as like going somewhere and being around a bunch of people, we just kind of stayed at home. So hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. Maybe if we hit another lull here in a minute, I can talk about Thanksgiving dishes and which ones I like and which ones I don't like. Daniel asks, how does the music ministry work at Southwest? So let me see this here. Song list, working with instrumentals. Yeah, so that's actually a great question. I love the way that things are run at Southwest. I think this has helped me see a lot about how you can run a church music ministry well. And I want to make sure that it doesn't sound like I'm like giving us a pat on the back or anything. Like, obviously we could always do better, and it's not like we've perfected anything at Southwest, but I feel like there's a lot that we've learned from, so I can share some things. We have my brother Aaron. He's the music minister. I'm the music assistant is my official title. And so I basically just help him out. That was, when I was hired on, that was basically what I was hired to do, is both here and actually at the Bible college, to just help him with stuff. And so that might look like a bunch of different things. So, and then we do have a secretary. So there's three of us involved in the music ministry. There's music minister, there's me, and then there's the secretary. And then we have others as well. Obviously we have the choir, we have the other instrumentalists. So I play one of the pianos, there's another pianist, and there's an organist. So as far as like the workflow of things, so special music, we schedule that by the quarter, and we try to have, obviously this year has been weird for everybody, but in a normal year, we have 2 specials per service, usually a group special and a soloist. And that's every service, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. and we schedule those by the quarter. So every 3 months, we're putting out a list of who's on that. So the secretary will kind of draft. We have a rotation where we kind of draft a general first draft of how we want things to go, and then she'll start calling people and having to tweak things. That usually takes a lot of time based on people that are going to be out of town, people that are going to be not available to sing on a certain day, making sure that people aren't singing like a solo and a group on the same day or the same week, things like that. So just kind of spreading things out. And then we run that by the pastor. He confirms it and makes sure that there's nothing, maybe there's something going on and he would rather a certain person not be given a solo right now. And so he'll let us know, or things like that. Or maybe there's a certain group or a person that he wants to hear again, or somebody that's going to be in town, a visiting family. We just had a visiting family in yesterday morning. One of our staff guy, our bus director, his brother and their family were in. So, and they all play like mandolin, banjo, violin, guitar, and they sing like amazing. So every time they're in town, their kids and everything, they sing. So things like that. So anyway, we schedule by the quarter, and then what happens is there's a weekly process that we go through where the secretary will reach out when there's several weeks before somebody's going to sing. She'll reach out to them and ask for a title of the song, things like that. And then they'll send in the song, and then it goes into the approval workflow. And then either me or the music minister will give it the green light or say, hey, there's some red flags here. Why don't you take a listen to this, or let's have pastor listen to this, or we'll just say, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. Can we find another song? So that goes through the approval process. Every special goes through an approval process. It gets approved, and then once we know a title, once it's been approved, then a few weeks out, we have them send in lyrics. That's for the deaf ministry. We have those that sign for the deaf. We have a section in our church where I know some churches do this, especially some larger churches. And so they need to see lyrics. The lady that's in charge of that likes to have lyrics ahead of time so that she can divvy out to different people. They kind of have a rotation of who's going to sign for the sermon, who's going to sign for the songs, and especially some of the ones that are still learning how to do sign language. They'll sometimes have them do the specials because they already have lyrics ahead of time. They're shorter. It's a little bit more forgiving than, here you go, sign this 45-minute sermon. So anyway, so she likes to have lyrics ahead of time so she can kind of look through and see what the best way to sign it would be, because obviously they kind of interpret things a little bit differently, and then who they want to give that to for the service, things like that. And then as the time is getting closer, the music secretary will just call to remind them, see if there's any special setup. Sometimes somebody will say, hey, I've got this friend that's going to play violin with me, or I've got somebody that's going to play guitar instead of piano. So our sound guy needs to know that so that they can set up the mics. So that's kind of the special music flow. Schedule by the quarter, and then as that's coming up, the secretary will keep reaching out to them to kind of get lyrics, get feedback from them on what's going on, remind them and everything. So that's the flow. And then as far as special music, choosing hymns and things, our music director has kind of a weekly workflow time that he's blocked out each week where he's going to choose hymns for the upcoming week, month, or whatever, and he'll try to get as far out ahead on that as he can. Choosing choir specials, planning the choir rehearsals that are coming up. We meet weekly with our pastor on Friday afternoons to just go through upcoming things in the music ministry to kind of just make sure we're on the same page with him on everything. And the music minister will say, hey, these people are asking you to join the choir, any red flags on why they wouldn't be able to, things like that. Here's our upcoming order of service. Here's this special service we're about to have, our missions conference. Does this look good? Does this quarter specials, does everything look good there? Or the pastor will talk about, hey, this song that we just heard last Sunday, maybe let's not do that one again. Things like that. So it's just a way for us to stay on the same page with the pastor, for him to be connected in the music ministry, which is huge for a church. Make sure the pastor is involved in the music ministry. He can't, obviously he can delegate to a music minister, but he shouldn't punt the entire thing to the music minister and say, well, I'm just not a music guy, you do all of that. That can lead to big problems in a church. So pastor needs to be involved. He needs to be the number one guy really in the music ministry. And then as far as special music, I'll say this too. Keep track of songs that have been done and songs that have been not approved. So we actually have a big database where every single special for the last, I think, 8 years has been kept track of who sung it, what the title was, what the date was that it was done. And we try not to repeat any songs within a year. So, if a couple years down the road somebody else wants to sing a song that someone else already did, that's fine. But if someone wants to sing a song that was just done a couple months ago, we look back on the record, and when that title is turned in, the secretary will say, oh, look, that song was just done. Let's not do that. Can we find a different one? So that's kind of how that works. And then, as I said, keep track of the songs that you didn't approve also, because, boy, that is a quick way to get in a lot of trouble. Is somebody submits a song and you say, you know what, I don't think this is going to be a great fit. And then later on down the road, a couple years or whatever later, somebody else submits that song, and maybe it's a different artist singing it. Maybe it just hits you a different way. Maybe it's the other person approving, and they say, oh yeah, green light, that's great. And then it gets sung, and that first person thinks, well, they didn't let me sing it. What was the problem with that? That is a quick way to cause really unnecessary conflict in your church. So please keep careful records of what has been done and what was not allowed to be done. That is a big way to save yourself some major conflict in the church. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. I know there's more I could go into about that. I could probably spend hours talking about an in-depth working model of how our music ministry works. But those are some of the big things that I've learned, I think, since being here, that I maybe hadn't seen before, that are a big help in a music service. Sam, good to see you. Happy birthday. How do you deal with spontaneity in your church, right? This is the big thing. You've got the order of service. Everybody's following the order of service, which is important. I think it's important to have an order of service, but the pastor will make a last-minute change. Some pastors are more prone to do this than others. So I will say that our pastor, Brother Gaddis, he's pretty good about following the order of service. It's not that he won't ever change things, but he tries to stay pretty orderly about things, and I know some pastors are even more so than that. Like, nothing fluctuates from the service order, and a lot of that's just the pastor's personality and what what he feels is right for that church. But there are some pastors that will change things up from time to time, and some that will change it very often. And as far as how to deal with that, I think as a music minister, usually it's going to be on the music minister to make the service order. I think as a music minister, you just have to be flexible. I mean, I know that might seem as the cliche, obvious answer, but it's really true. You have to know, first of all, in your heart, you have to know that the pastor is he's the under shepherd. He's the one that is accountable for this church. Even though you're the one that's making the service order, like, you're not the pastor of the church. So if he feels that, hey, the service, I think, needs to go in this direction next, like, it might be frustrating, but I think it's still, obviously, as a music minister, like, you need to submit to his authority. And I know you well enough, Sam, to know you're doing that. But anyway, anyone that's watching here, just to let you know, like, that can be a frustration. I get that. Especially if you're dealing with a pastor that hasn't gone through all of what goes into the music ministry and the preparation of that service order. But you still have to, again, just let him make those choices as the pastor, and you just do everything you can to minimize that. And I don't even know necessarily that it's something that you need to approach him about. If you feel like it's happening, like, all the time, you might be tempted to, like, say something to him about it. But I mean, that's your call. I don't even know that you need to do that. I think it's just something that it's part of what's going to happen when you've got multiple people involved in a service, and you're trying to follow an order, but also allow room, because I think the Holy Spirit can move sometimes. I always go back to that. And when I teach my philosophy of music class at Heartland, I go back to that passage in 2 Chronicles 5, where the cloud came down and interrupted the service, and the priest couldn't even go in and minister, all because of the song service. And basically, one of my takeaways from that is that it's not like every single service should be you trying to come up with this cloud experience that's just amazing and tear-jerking, and that you're trying to produce this huge emotional reaction and spontaneity every single service. But at the same time, you should be open to that, because that passage to me makes it clear that sometimes God does interrupt your service, and sometimes, I think, what's the phrase? Man proposes, God disposes, right? So we come up with all of our plans, but at the end of the day, it's God's church, first of all, and then the pastor is put in position. So what happens is going to happen. And if that happens, you can't sit there and say, well, that wasn't on the service order, so clearly that was wrong, because sometimes God does things that aren't on the service order. So maybe that was a really preachy answer. I didn't even mean for it to be that way. And maybe it was very cliche and obvious, but that's what I would say about that is, do your best to follow the service order. So I wouldn't say stop printing service orders because it's happening. I would just say keep doing your best to be orderly, but then still leave room for the Lord to work in the pastor's heart to change something up last minute even. And honor and respect his authority when that happens, and back him when that happens. So another thing that just kind of came to mind is that you might be, as a music minister, you might have that perspective to where, okay, he's the pastor, so I'm going to back his play. I'm going to respect him on that. But there might be other people like the sound guy, the musicians, special music or whatever, that they have a service order and they see, well, this isn't being followed, and they get frustrated. Then that's on you as a music director, I think, to back the play of the pastor. Like, if somebody comes up, an example, somebody comes up to you after the service, sound guy or whatever, and talking about, man, pastor changed things up on us again, always doing that, and, kind of expressing a little bit of passive-aggressive frustration. Then as a music minister, I would just challenge you not to respond by saying, oh, yeah, he does that all the time, roll your eyes or whatever, pastor changing things up again, I don't even know why we print these things up. I would say as the music minister, that's the time for you to back your pastor's play. Like, the church never needs to see, even in kind of a subtle way, you don't ever want the church to see that you are not on board with your pastor on anything. So hopefully that's a help. Trying to see, I've got others that have kind of just come in and left, and we've kind of been going back and forth. But I've got time for one more question if somebody wants to ask one. In the meantime, let's talk about Thanksgiving side dishes, since we just had Thanksgiving. So, unpopular opinion, I'm actually not a huge turkey fan. Now, I will say that the turkey that my wife made for Thanksgiving this year was fantastic. It was really, really good. And if I'm going to eat turkey, it's going to be dark meat, because I'm not a white meat kind of guy. But, and you put gravy on top of it, it's fine. But just in general, I'm not a meat and potatoes guy. My wife knows that. We had turkey, we had mashed potatoes, gravy, and all that. But I've never been a meat and potatoes guy. Like I said earlier, like, if you give me the choice between pretty much anything and going to Taco Bell, I'm going to go to Taco Bell. But that Thanksgiving dinner this last Thursday was fantastic. I will say that. We had basically turkey and all the trappings and stuff. My favorite side dish on Thanksgiving is probably sweet potato casserole. But let me qualify that statement. Do not put nuts on your sweet potato casserole. Okay? When I bite into sweet potato casserole, it's supposed to be soft and gooey like mashed sweet potatoes and maybe melted marshmallows and brown sugar. It is not supposed to have crunchy nuts in it. So let me clarify that if you've been making your sweet potato casserole with nuts, you've been making it wrong. Just letting you know. Green bean casserole. I like green bean casserole. The French fried onions thing sounds gross, but it actually is pretty good when you put it on green beans. Let's see. Mashed potatoes, I already talked about. Not a huge fan, but I'll eat them. Stuffing. Yeah, stuffing is good. The good stuffing is good. I'll put it that way. Good stuffing is good. Bad stuffing is bad. And it is stuffing. It's not dressing. Dressing is what you put on your salad. Stuffing is what you put inside of a turkey. I don't know if I've actually ever had stuffing inside the turkey before, even though that's kind of what it's supposed to be about. But it doesn't make sense to call it stuff. It doesn't make sense to call it dressing. Like, you don't put it on the turkey, you put it inside the turkey. It's stuffing, not dressing. Dressing is for salads. So there's that. What else do we eat at Thanksgiving? Pumpkin pie. Just gonna admit here, I used to love pumpkin pie, but it's actually probably my least favorite pie now. I'll still eat it, but I have to have a lot of Cool Whip on it. I'm just not a huge fan of pumpkin. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin pie. There are pies that I won't eat at all. Pumpkin pie is not one of those. I will eat pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin pie. It's not one of the ones that's gross. It's good. It's just, of all the good pies, it's probably on the bottom of the list. Underneath the good ones like cherry, pecan, and apple. A homemade apple pie with a crumb topping and everything. That is so fantastic. Fantastic. And pecan pie too. I love pecan pie. So, pumpkin pie, not so much. Okay, somebody asked about the songwriting. Are you talking about the songwriting contest, Lacey? I'm not sure if that's what you're asking about. If that is what you're asking about, we did have the winner of the songwriting contest. And so I've got to Micah and Alex Lassiter were the winners of that. And they wrote a song called I Am Free. And then I actually had them here in Oklahoma City a few weeks ago. And I had them in my office studio. And they recorded the song. I've just got to edit all that audio. I've got to edit that recording, and when everything's ready, I'm going to put that out on the channel. But unfortunately, I'm really, really, really slow at any kind of semi-big project because, unfortunately, this isn't my full-time job. I say unfortunately. I have a great full-time job. 2 full-time jobs. But it's tough for me to get time to do all these other things that I would also love to do. But that is in the progress. I've got the audio from them. I am really excited to release that song. It's a fantastic song. Sarah Levere was the runner-up on that contest. And so I'm going to eventually get that one recorded and get that out as well. I'm really backed up on a lot of things, and I very rarely get time to just work on excellence in church music stuff. And when I do, I just usually do whatever I can do at the moment, which is usually not what needs done the most. Usually what needs done the most is usually something I can't do with the equipment that I have when I have the free time. Like I'm in the wrong office or I'm at the wrong place to do what needs done the most anytime I actually have free time. Hence the fact that I'm recording this video in a car with my phone. When there's tons of other things that I need to release right now. All right. Let's see. I don't think I've actually had another question yet. So if somebody else has a question, feel free to ask. Was there any Thanksgiving side dishes we didn't talk about? We talked about sweet potato casserole. Oh, rolls. Yeah, rolls are good. Homemade rolls are the best. My wife made this honey cinnamon butter that was amazing with rolls this year. That was really good. I like that a lot. So, yeah, rolls are good. There's not really, I don't know if there's anything bad that usually gets served at Thanksgiving. Oh, yes, I just thought of the one thing. Okay, the only thing that gets served at Thanksgiving dinner that is disgusting, in my opinion, is cranberry sauce. Not a cranberry sauce fan. This is kind of like the dividing line. Like everybody either loves cranberry sauce or hates it. I don't think I've ever met one single person that said, it's all right. Like everybody that I know either swears by cranberry sauce or they say it's absolutely disgusting, and I would be in the absolutely disgusting camp. That's my opinion on that. I will also say this about cranberry sauce. If you eat cranberry sauce, yeah, and I don't even eat it. So, okay, you take what you will with my opinion here, or do what you will with it. But here's what I have to say. If you're one of those people that says, "Oh, cranberry sauce is so amazing," you can't say that if you eat it out of a can. Like if you just dump that whole Jell-O shaped tin can shaped thing on the plate and say, "Look, cranberry sauce." You can't do that and say, "Oh, I love cranberry sauce." I don't even like cranberry sauce, but that's like, if you're going to do it, at least make the gross cranberry sauce homemade. and then say that you like it, even though I don't. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right. Are you writing any new songs right now? This can be our last question right here, because I am no, but I have actually a bunch of songs that I've written that I need to get down. So I guess it depends on what you mean by writing. Am I coming up with new songs right now? Not right now, but I have come up with one that I have just recently written for our school choir here that I'm hoping to release soon. I've come up with a bunch of arrangements that I'm hoping to release soon, and then I've got some other songs that I've written, scripture songs I think I was talking about, that I'm going to try to release soon. And I say soon, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, that you know soon can mean anything from next week to sometime in the next 5 years. But so yes, I do have a lot of songs. Like I said a minute ago, I am backlogged on a ton of stuff, and I want to get it out. Believe me when I say I want to get it out. I just, like I said, anytime that I could actually do anything about it, like now, I don't have any of my equipment here to actually work on those. So no, I'm not writing any right now, but there will be a lot more songs coming. And what I want to do with the channel right now is at least have some consistency. So during quarantine, when everything started back in March, I was like weekly putting out videos, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, because, you know, we were all at home with nothing to do. Now that I'm back to things, and it's been such a crazy year, like, I haven't even had time to do, I think I made like 1 video on my YouTube channel last month or something like that. I haven't had time to do a lot of that stuff. And I know it's a lame excuse, like I could have made time for it, but at the end of the day, I like to spend time with my family too, so. But I am going to try to work my schedule around a little bit, and the plan is every Monday to do a video like this with some Q&A. I might switch the time around so more people can actually watch, because this is right in the middle of the workday for most people, if you're not me. And then another day in the week, maybe Thursday or another day, to do a live hymn video. I was doing hymn request videos every month. I'm going to try to doing those every week now. Try to pick up some traffic a little bit more on the channel. The channels that seem to get the most subscriber traffic and everything, especially on YouTube, seem to be the ones that are putting out regular weekly content. And everything's kind of stagnated on YouTube for a while, because I'm really bad about putting things out. So more songs will be coming, but I can't give you a specific date on when they'll be out. So thanks for watching, and I'll be posting this on the Facebook page to watch later if you missed it. I'll be posting it on the YouTube channel. Hopefully tonight I can get home and just get this, and I think there's one more hymn video that I need to put on the YouTube channel, my most recent one too. So look forward to seeing you next week. If you've got any other questions for me for next week's Q&A in the car, send those to me. Feel free to either message those to the page or email me at excellenceinchurchmusic@gmail.com. You can comment if you want to, but probably the best way for me to see it would be an email or a direct message on Facebook. So have a good week, everybody. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.